My name is Wayne Wilson. My wife and I are from the United States of America and are working with a non-government organization in Goma known as Onjour Nouveau. I am pastor of Onjour Nouveau Chapel's English language service. Have you ever faced a situation that looked so desperate and hopeless that destruction seemed imminent? The nation of Judah was in that uncomfortable position at a time that is recorded in 2 Chronicles chapter 20 and at a different time that is recorded in Jeremiah chapters 41 through 43. Permit me to briefly relate the circumstances in each of the respective situations. In the first situation, the day began for King Jehoshaphat just like any other day. But it ended quite differently after Jehoshaphat received word that a vast army, composed of 3 hostile nations, was advancing on Judah with the intent of destroying them. In total panic, King Jehoshaphat called for a national fast, and he and the people fervently sought the Lord. The end result was that God destroyed their enemies in such a decisive way that 2 Chronicles 20, verses 29 and 30 read, "The fear of God came on all the surrounding kingdoms when they heard how the Lord fought against the enemies of Israel. And the kingdom of Jehoshaphat was at peace, for God had given him rest on every side." The second situation took place more than 250 years after the first incident. It is recorded beginning in Jeremiah 41 and verse 18 to the end of chapter 43. The bulk of the people of Jerusalem were taken into Babylonian captivity in 3 deportations. The first deportation occurred in 605 BC. In that deportation, Daniel and his 3 friends were taken along with those who were wealthy and were of royal lineage. The second deportation occurred in 597 BC. The middle class was taken in that deportation, and it is the time when Ezekiel the prophet was taken into captivity. The third deportation occurred in 586 BC. The poor were taken in this one, and only the poorest were left behind in Judah, along with Jeremiah the prophet. 7 months after the deportation in 586 BC, the governor that the Babylonians had appointed over the land was assassinated. In their desperation and fear of reprisal from the king of Babylon, the people asked Jeremiah to cry out to God about what they should do. They promised they would obey whatever God wanted them to do. However, the people were mercilessly slaughtered in Egypt. These 2 accounts are similar in a number of respects. In both accounts, the people were desperate. In both accounts, the people asked for God's direction. And in both situations, God called them to pursue an unconventional strategy. Why, however, was there such a difference in the outcome? It came because of their respective responses to God's answer. In the first situation, they fully obeyed God, and the result was a stunning victory. In the second situation, they rejected God and His direction. They leaned on their own understanding. They went down to Egypt, and they were crushed. How do these historical events apply to you? If you're not currently facing a desperate situation, at some point you will. In the midst of your situation, I advise you to cry out to God for direction, and when you know precisely what He wants you to do, obey Him, even if it doesn't make sense, because God's ways are always right, and they are the safest course. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your way straight." Thank you so much for listening. I trust you have a good and godly day.